What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Dad Needs to Talk. I'm your host, Robert, and today we are at the freaking end of June, which is so weird to think about. But we're at the end of June, and during the month of June, I got to watch a lot of movies and a couple of cool TV shows I'm going to talk about today. And it's been a lot of chaos going on in the gaming world. So as always, there will be timestamps for all these different topics if you're interested. But as always, if this is your first time here, then welcome. But if you're a returning listener and/or watcher, then welcome back. Y'all know here at Danny's to Talk, it's all about fatherhood and family, manga, anime, TV shows, movies, and of course some video games. Man, June is literally over, man. I am literally recording this at almost 10 p.m. on June 30th. And it's like, man, it's gonna be July by the time y'all see this tomorrow. And it's just like, what is going on? Cause like I'm thinking of it from the perspective of like my kids have already been out of school for a little over a month because they got out May 22nd. So it's already been a month out of school. And which means it's only like another month and a half, and then we're right back in it. But as I've talked about before, that's just the nature of how things are now. Whatever with my kids being older, always busy. Like I've lamented a few times. Like I definitely miss the older days when they were smaller, wasn't as active, and it was like, hey, summertime they gone for almost 2 months. Be like, man, hey, we already got the bags packed and in the car. And you know what? We gonna pick y'all up from school. You ain't riding the bus, whatever, walking home. No, we will be there outside. Get in the car. You go into your great grandparents' house. See you in August. But it is what it is. But but yeah, man, like I said, it's been a couple of weeks since I've done a regular episode. So like Father's Day came and went. Like I've wanted for a few years now, it feels like I've wanted to do a Father's Day themed episode with another dad from the community. But every year it comes and goes, and I'm like, dang it, missed it again. Same thing with Mother's Day and stuff. But someday, someday, I'll get the stars to align and I'll do it. And as far as like the last couple of weeks, content wise, so some of y'all may have noticed I've been experimenting, trying something a little bit different. So I've been doing more short form content across, YouTube Shorts, Instagram, and my TikTok page that I rarely ever look at, simply because I've talked about it before how I've had multiple occasions where I've checked out something and either one, I don't have a whole bunch to say, not enough for like a several minutes long full review episode or discussion or whatever, or sometimes just due to the nature of my schedule or whatever, it's like, okay, well, I'm gonna try to remember to talk about this thing, next week or in a couple of weeks, and then life happens, stuff gets busy, and before I know it, it's been weeks, if not a month, and I'm like, dang it, I ain't talked about that thing yet. And my window for my memory has passed, and so I just don't do it. And so I was like, you know what? This would be a great way for me to kind of get some quick thoughts out there for y'all, uh, and stay more consistent, because with the short form stuff, I can literally do that anywhere because I can do it on my phone. So there's been, as y'all have seen from some of the backgrounds across these different episodes, like, of course, I've recorded some here in my normal recording spot. I've done some outside in the car when I'm fresh out of a movie theater at 1 a.m. in the morning. I think I even did one at work. 'Cause like I mentioned, like my office space at work, 90% of the time it's empty. So I have plenty of space, whatever, and privacy where I can just go talk for literally 2, 3 minutes or whatever, and then get it uploaded and all that stuff, whatever. So yeah, so it's been fun. The response, I would say, has been pretty positive. I've gotten a steady amount of views across all the platforms. I've gotten a consistent handful of subscribers on my YouTube channel from it and stuff. So, and then like I said, TikTok has been pretty active. Lots of people commenting on the different reviews and stuff, whatever. So yeah. So like I said, that's something I'm gonna probably continue experimenting with. And stuff. So, and I kind of picked the perfect time because there was a lot of movies and some anime news and stuff, whatever, that I was excited about that happened to time out just perfectly for me to do that. So yeah. So like I said, just want to just mention that to y'all. Those of y'all that are on those different platforms, of course, I'm Dad needs to talk everywhere. So so yeah. So let me know what you think of the this new little experiment and stuff I'm trying. Cause like I said, I think this would be kind of a nice buffer between when I'm able to do full longer podcast episodes like this and stuff. So but yeah. So all right. So I'm gonna go ahead and dive into. I'm trying to think. Do I want to do games or shows and stuff first? I'm trying to think. You know what? Let's go ahead and just dive into talking about some games first, I believe. All right, so games. It's been a lot of stuff happening because I looked up my last main episode I recorded coincidentally was right after all of the Nintendo Direct, uh, Summer Game Fest, Xbox Showcase, PlayStation State, all that stuff, whatever, back early June, and it's like so much chaos has happened and unfolded. So before I get into all that new stuff, whatever, I just want to shout out a couple of games I've checked out and played. First of all, I want to shout out what is it called? The Adventures of Elliot. It is a new HD 2D RPG game that I believe it's Square Enix that did. It's out on all platforms. I played the demo for it on the Switch too, because the demo is a good chunk of basically like the opening parts of the game. And I'm like, yeah, this has like a really good kind of like almost like a old school top down Zelda feel to it. But just like the camera angle and stuff, whatever, is a little bit different than like a Link to the Past, but still gives you some of those similar vibes and stuff. And yeah, it was just fun. I put in maybe like 2 or 3 hours into that demo and stuff, and I was like, you know what? Maybe not right now, but I could see myself maybe somewhere down the road, picking that game up and like just like having that as a nice little on the go companion and stuff to check out. So because I have been kind of debating. Because speaking of on the go, I've got to talk about this earlier. Like starting next week for the next couple of weeks, we're going to be on the road because my oldest son, we got a basketball tournament in St. Louis, followed by one in Memphis, back to back weeks. So be away from home for a little bit and got to figure out some stuff to do and play whatever. I'm gonna take my Switch too. Probably ain't gonna, I don't. I'm probably not gonna take my PS5. I don't think just because I don't feel like I'm gonna have the time for it. I say that, but we're gonna be out there. Shoot, maybe like 4, 5 days. Something. Oof. Yeah, we went back there almost a week or whatever. So I don't know. We'll see. But yeah. So Adventures of Elliot, just want to shout that out. Uh, the other game. This was kind of like a self treat to myself. I finally, even though I still never finished Pragmata, I'm gonna circle back to that someday. But I was just in the mood for something a little bit different, and I decided to finally pick up that 007 First Light, the James Bond game, just because I heard so many amazing things about it or whatever, and I was like, you know what, I want to play this just because, in a similar way, like with like Pragmata, 007 First Light is a type of like action set piece type of game that we don't really get too often anymore. It's because like that's more like Uncharted esque whatever. But so I've played maybe a few hours of it so far. I guess for people that have played it, I have let's see. I am on the other side of the, I guess like kind of like the first big field mission where the big explosion happens against a set of twins. That's all I'm gonna say on that part or whatever. You'll know where I'm at. But the game is a really nice blend of kind of like Uncharted esque along with that Hitman feel and vibe. Because so first of all, the game starts off with like a really cool, epic opening sequence and stuff, whatever, and like that kind of like first mission to kind of help you familiarize yourself with the environments and the levels and stuff, whatever. Very good, very dope. Um, and I've really enjoyed the game because, like I said, while it has a little bit of that Uncharted feel to it, you could definitely tell that this is made by the same studio that does the Hitman games because the kind of sense of freedom to kind of play around and the level to kind of like poke at different things and test stuff out and basically figure out how to get to the solution. It's not just 100% narrow path. Hey, there's only one solution to this. It's like, no, there's a couple of different options as far as like how you can get to your objective or how to solve the problem. And I kind of like that because, like I said, they give you a little bit of a push in a direction, but if you take your time and observe your environment, listen to different conversations or whatever, you'll hear hints or see different things of like, maybe I can try going over here and getting this disguise or finding, or I eavesdropped on somebody and they mentioned that somebody from the press is coming and they had to hide their press badge outside under this flower pot, blah, blah, blah. So, okay, I'm going to go explore outside and, okay, cool. I found this badge. I got into this restricted area. Now I can go from there. So it's been really cool, like I said, having that just like kind of like baby steps, sense of freedom a little bit. So I'm really enjoying my time with 007 First Light so far, and I'm looking forward to playing some more. Now I'm trying to think. Okay, okay. So I guess next up I'll talk about GTA 6 and the whole pricing situation. The same thing with Valve and the Steam machine. So I'm trying to think which to start with. I'll start with GTA 6. So they announced, the price and stuff of it or whatever, and so the base price of the game is going to be $80. There will be $100 Ultimate Edition that will have a whole bunch of customization and shops and different things like that. Also, the game is going to be digital only for launch. Even if you go into a retail store and pick up a box case or whatever, it's only going to have a download code in the box. So 100% digital at launch. Not sure. There's been no definitive confirmation from Rockstar themselves as far as like, yeah, if disc will come later on down the road. We don't know. But yeah, so just putting that out there at the gate, it's gonna be 100% digital. Now, for myself, I'm of a few minds of this whole conversation surrounding this game to where it's like it kind of being at that higher price point. I'm not surprised just because of the fact of like it's been 13 years since GTA 5, which I have a little side story to talk about with that in a second. And it's been a lot of time, a lot of money put into this game. Probably going to be one of the biggest entertainment launches, not game launches, entertainment launches in a long time. So they are going, pulling all the stops, whatever, for it. And so, yeah, like sadly to say whatever, I'm not surprised by the price point. Yeah, I'll probably pick it up. Honestly, I'm probably gonna be picking up minimum two, if not three copies, just because I'm gonna get it for myself. My oldest son probably gonna want to play it or whatever, because funny enough, he'll be turning 18 right before the game comes out. And then I don't know, my wife might want to try it or not. I don't know. She might just play it on mine. I don't know. we'll see. But there's gonna be at least 2 copies minimum purchased, or whatever. Um, and I was talking to somebody about this, and I'm like, the range of pricing, or whatever, we've seen it explored both positively and negatively. Like positive side, like a big indie game last year, Silk Song, $20, shocked a lot of people, whatever, and kind of set a tone and expectation for a lot of games that have come out since then of that scale. And then for big AAA games, whatever, we've seen, or like the double to AAA range, whatever, we've seen games explore the price scale to where like Expedition 33 was $50, Pragmata was 60. The kind of general standard right now has been 70 for a while, but then pushing up, a lot of games for years at this point have been doing the okay, base game is $60, $70, but hey, you get the deluxe edition or the play 3 days, 5 days early version for 80, 90, $100+ plus. I think it was like Forza, one of the Forza games was like 110 or something, whatever. Like the Assassin's Creed games have done like 120, or Ubisoft in general has been notorious for years of doing these big extra special edition $120 whatever, and hey, promise you'll get all future DLC and stuff, whatever. So the scale has been explored for a long time, and like I said, not surprised with GTA 6 hitting that upper tier of it. Now, my little side story I want to talk about really quickly. So a few days ago, after maybe like a couple days after the GTA price thing, whatever happened, and pre-orders and stuff went live, I had to go by Best Buy to pick up some a controller and stuff for my oldest son. He needed another controller, and so when I went in there to pick up my online order, or whatever, I'm talking to the young fella at the counter, or whatever, and so he's scanning my stuff, whatever. He's, oh, okay. He said, hey, are you gonna pre-order that GTA 6? And I was like, I was like, eventually, I was like, no, I'm not gonna do it right now, whatever. He was like, oh, okay, cool. He was like, well, he said, yes, I saw you getting all this Xbox stuff, so I figured, you might be picking it up for somebody, blah blah blah. And I was like, yeah, I'm probably gonna, as I just mentioned, I'm probably gonna end up getting a couple of copies, yada yada yada. And he was like, oh, okay, you gonna be gaming too? I'm like, oh yeah. I'm like, oh yeah. I'm like, dude, like, yeah. And so we were talking about it, whatever, about how long it's been and different stuff, whatever. And I was like, yeah, dude. I said, I've been with Grand Theft Auto playing it since the early days, since the beginning. I told him I was like, man, I was like 11 or 13 when Vice City came out back in the day and stuff, whatever. He's like, oh, for real? And so I'm 36. He's 23 right now. I was like, I was your age when GTA 5 came out. He's like, wait, it's been that long? I was like, yeah, dude. I said 13 years. And he was like, he did the math. He was like, I was like 10. And so, but yeah, it was just like a really fun, just natural interaction, whatever. I mentioned I've missed having those kind of like just natural in the wild discussions with random people and stuff, whatever. That was definitely one of like the main things I enjoyed about working retail, especially working at like GameStop and stuff back in the day. Just striking up those random nerdy conversations with people and stuff. But yeah, just wanted to share that. Uh, Speaking of pricing and stuff, whatever. So the Steam machine last week also got all of its pricing stuff officially revealed, and sadly, it is on the super high end of things, to where like the base model, which is like 500 something gigabytes with no Steam controller, is like, I think it's like 1100 or something like that, or whatever. And the high end, the 2 terabyte with the Steam controller, is like 1400 or something, like 1400 something dollars, whatever. So there's 4 models. There's, like say like the 500 something gig with and without a controller, and then there's the 2 terabyte with and without a controller. And so yeah, so that is the reality of the electronics market right now, whatever. As we'll talk about with the Xbox in a minute, but I know a lot of people aren't happy with that price. Valve themselves, I know, are not happy with the price because the speculation was that at least like one of the models for it should have came in under 800, like $700-800, somewhere within that pocket or whatever. But just due to the nature of how expensive RAM and all this different stuff is now, whatever, like the prices freaking through the roof. And so it is what it is, and it's one of those things where, like, unfortunately right now with electronics and stuff, like, if you have devices that are working, your phone, your laptop, computer, whatever, if they're in working condition, hang on to them for dear life, take care of them, whatever, just because if you have to get a new phone or a new laptop or whatever, it's going to be mad expensive. And so I've mentioned before, maybe I can't remember, but like, so I've mentioned before, I work IT for a hospital, and so we have hundreds of locations all across the metroplex or whatever. And the past like 6 months or so, whatever, we've had major problems with getting new hardware and stuff ordered or whatever, to the point to where like the prices are like a moving target or whatever for a lot of companies, where we'll get a price for, okay, hey, we need, 60 something laptops, just to throw out a number or whatever, and a dozen precision towers and blah blah blah. Uh, so we get a quote for how much it's gonna cost. We put in the order or whatever, and there's been times where something's happened along the process where something has to be changed or adjusted or whatever. Well, in that time, the price has gone up, and maybe the quote we originally had has expired, and because of whatever change we're gonna make, we got to get a new quote. And there's been times where, hey, over the course of a couple of weeks of us having to redo the stuff, whatever, the price has gone up a couple $100, whatever, just in a couple of weeks. And so when a lot of people are right, understandably upset with, Xbox just went up in price again. The Switch 2 is going to go up in price in a couple of months. PS5 and stuff went up in price a few months ago, whatever. Like, stuff is legit. Like, electronics, if you have not had to buy a big electronic like a laptop, a desktop, or spec out the price for any of this stuff or whatever lately, whatever, then yeah, this stuff is steadily going up in price, like it darn near daily, if not every week or two. Um, but yeah, so that is the nature of it. Because honestly, that there was a small window where I was like, you know what? I was like, if this Steam machine is a reasonable price, I might get one just for the sake of having one or whatever. Because I've mentioned a while back I wanted to get a Steam Deck or whatever, and I was kind of been on the fence for a long time. Well, the price of that went through the roof, where like the high end model increased $300 or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, at this point, I'm just gonna just weather the storm and just wait for some years down the line whenever y'all might get to do a Steam Deck 2 or whatever. Because I'm like, yeah, I'm not paying $600-900 or whatever for that now. And same thing with the Steam machine. It's like it going well above $1,000. I'm like, yeah, I legit cannot uh, reasonably justify buying that. So yeah, so console pricing and stuff is kind of screwed right now. I'll say any people that a lot of people have been holding out to upgrade to the current gen Xbox or PS5 or whatever for when GTA 6 come out. Well, prices are steadily going up, so it's one of those things where it's like it's expensive now, but you might have to go and pull the trigger if you're able to whatever now before it gets too far out of reach or whatever in the coming months and stuff. So, but yeah, because honestly, that like looking back now, whatever, it was like, yeah, it wasn't something that I needed, but kind of just like thinking long term, whatever. I'm glad I went ahead and just pulled the trigger and got my PlayStation 5 Pro. A few months back, or whatever, like right before they were gonna do the price increase or whatever. I was like, yeah, let me just go ahead and do it or whatever. And yeah, it's been a good investment to have now. And plus, my kids are happy to have the other PS5 out in the living room because they've been on that sucker during there every day since they got their hands on it and stuff. So, but but yeah, so that's crazy. Um, Other thing I want to shout out too, game wise, just a little side thing before I get back to the other stuff. So that the Avatar Last Airbender fighting game is coming out sometime in July. Yes, and so they announced that the year one release schedule for the characters, whatever. We're gonna have Uncle Iroh. We're gonna have Ty Lee. We're gonna have shoot, Toph's daughter from Korra, and shoot, what I can't remember the klutzy brother from Korra, or whatever. Laura, I can't remember his name, but anywho, he's gonna be in it too, whatever. And then there's gonna be a mystery fifth character that fans can vote on and stuff. So, but yeah, so I'm like, I showed it to my middle son because he's the one that watched Last Airbender some years ago when he was younger, and I was like, hey, there's a new fighting game based off of Last, and I was showing him the trailer. He was like, yo, for real. So I was like, you know what, I might pick that up, whatever. Be a nice little game we can play together and bond over and stuff. So, but anyway, just wanted to shout that out real quick. So, going back to all this gaming chaos. So, Xbox, Microsoft, all everything in Greenland is set aflame right now because last podcast episode, I talked about how great the Xbox showcase and stuff was, but like now, right, like so, like today is the end of Microsoft's fiscal year. Now, as somebody who previously used to work at Microsoft as a contractor a couple of times years back, freaking over a decade ago, this was the time of year, the dreaded time of year of if you were a contractor like I was, then you knew when June was coming up, whatever, you would find out, okay, hey, we're gonna renew it for another year, or no, we're gonna let you go, or whatever. And so I've gone through that. And so right now, the talk of the town is things are not looking good for a lot of the Xbox studios and stuff over there, and a lot of the games that were just shown off at the showcase, whatever, are in jeopardy of potentially not even happening or getting canceled and stuff. So like the new Hellblade: Senua's Saga, that studio is on the chopping block of potentially getting shut down if they can't either spin off independently or if they can't find somebody else to pick them up, or whatever. That studio and that game, Ninja Theory, might get shut down. We've heard the same thing with Compulsion Games, the studio that did South of Midnight, is on the chopping block. Double Fine, the ones that did Psychonauts, they're on the chopping block as well. And then the last couple of days, a couple others have popped up, like Undead Labs, the studio that does State of Decay 3. It is like, yo, come on. Like, I hope State of Decay 3 and Undead Labs can survive just for my wife's sake, because she loves the State of Decay series, or whatever, and she'd be heartbroken to hear if that game is going to get canceled and stuff, man. But yeah, it's expected that within the coming days, if not by the time y'all even see this tomorrow, there's going to be a lot of layoffs happening at Microsoft, and they're already kind of like cutting contracts and different third party agreements and stuff. Like there was a game that speaking of Double 007 First Light, the studio that makes that in Hitman, IO Interactive, they had a contract with Microsoft to work on like a some type of like fantasy action game or whatever. And so Microsoft cut that contract earlier today or whatever. And so now they're in the process of trying to figure some stuff out and figure out if they can still maybe someday take on that project and do it themselves somewhere down the line and stuff. So but sadly, yeah, that studio is or that project is done for whatever. I'm trying to think. I feel like there was another Xbox. Let me see. I'm scrolling through. IO story. Oh yeah, the other big one, freaking Arcane and the Blade game. That's another one that rumors are swirling around that the Blade game might get canceled and they might shut down Arcane Lyon. Because remember, they already shut down the other Arcane, Arcane Austin, the ones that did Redfall and Prey back in the day. So they got shut down a couple years ago after Redfall, and so now this other Arcane studio, the other ones that does the Dishonored games, or whatever, and like I said, working on Blade, and it looks like they're up on the chopping block right now. So yeah, man. Sadly, things are not looking good over in the Microsoft slash Xbox camp. So yeah, man, it's probably it's bound to be a lot of bad news in the gaming sphere, job wise, in the coming days and stuff, man. So, but hopefully, some of these studios or projects and stuff can kind of maybe be saved, or can maybe live and fight another day, so to speak, on their own. So, but yeah. So I think that's it for all the gaming news. Let me double check that I wanted to touch on. Yeah, yeah. That's it for the gaming news. So let's talk about some of these shows and movies I checked out this month. So I watched a lot of stuff. I'll just say quickly, I picked back up my adventures with Superman a couple weeks ago or whatever, just because with the excitement of like season 3 has already started now, but it was on the precipice of starting. The new Supergirl movie was starting, all that stuff, and lots of other DC related stuff. I was like, you know what? I enjoyed what I was watching of that, so I need to circle back around and finish it up. So yeah, so I went back through, finished up season one. Season one, super awesome, super fun, and so started season 2 a little bit, kind of put it on pause a little bit, but I'm excited to kind of keep chipping away and watching that show and stuff. So 'cause yeah, it's a fun one to keep up with. And I guess since I mentioned it or whatever, I'll go ahead and just briefly mention Supergirl. So when I saw Supergirl on opening night, and overall it was a solid movie. Like I don't know why there's like this like hateful vendetta out for the movie right now, or whatever, with a lot of people online, because there have definitely been way worse, way worse movies than freaking Supergirl. Like there was like a little bit of like some like pacing issues and stuff here and there with the story and stuff, whatever. But overall, though, like I'm not like a super big comic book lore person, so I don't know every iteration, story, and background for a lot of these characters. So I enjoyed seeing this new perspective to me for uh Carla and stuff, whatever, with her, being younger than Clark in this, and you know, Krypton still surviving many years after Clark got sent away or whatever, and her little storyline, like having to deal with the lasting days of Krypton and stuff, whatever, before she also got sent to Earth and stuff. But so I enjoyed that piece of the story, which I guess I should have said spoiler alert, sorry, uh, but the fun part I loved was freaking Jason Momoa as Lobo in the movie. Like anytime he popped up and he was popping off and stuff, whatever, he was just like a super fun addition to the movie and stuff. And all the fight sequences and stuff were done really well. When Supergirl going off or whatever, like yeah, them two together, her and Lobo, anytime there was some action going on or whatever, it was depicted really well. So yeah, so overall, yeah, Supergirl, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. It was a good, solid movie for me. Let's see. Um, all right, I'm gonna talk about this double whammy. So earlier this year, I saw that there were two Hugh Jackman movies coming out: The Sheep Detectives and The Death of Robin Hood. Now, just what I naturally gravitated towards, or whatever, I placed my bet on. You know what? Of these movies or whatever, Yeah, Sheep Detectives. There might be something there, but I'm I'm gonna go see that Death of Robin Hood because that looks like that might be a like a Logan Wolverine Logan vibes movie. Because hey, it's also Hugh Jackman. Yeah, no. Death of Robin Hood was a big letdown for me. I did a little mini review of it, so some of you might have already seen it, but for me, it lacked the impact that something like Logan had because we got to see and experience Hugh Jackman's Wolverine over the course of several years, several movies and stuff, whatever, over time, so that when that movie came, it really had a weight to the character and what we were seeing him go through up through the end of that movie, whatever. Versus Death of Robin Hood tries to do something like that, or whatever, but without there being any previous movies or anything, whatever, for us to kind of connect with and set up for this, whatever. So it was kind of like I said, it was like if we got Logan, but none of the other previous Wolverine and X Men stuff, whatever. Yeah, man, that's not gonna fly. So yeah, so Death of Robin Hood was a big disappointment, and so much so to the point like I know I kind of like I never like fully fell asleep, but I know I was like nodding off a couple times. And towards the end of the movie, like the final like 15, 20 minutes, whatever, there was somebody like literally a few rows above me, full on knocked out snoring because it was like kind of like a more like quieter scene. And I heard the sound, and I'm like, am I tripping or somebody snoring? And then there was like a dead silent moment, and the dude, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, he knocked out. So yeah, not worth the time, whatever, to go see that movie. Now Sheep Detectives. This movie came out like earlier in May, so here we are, end of June. It's already had most of its theatrical run, and so the last few days I was kind of like eyeballing my calendar, like, okay, all right, I'm gonna go see Supergirl opening night or whatever, and what else I'm gonna go look at, and I was like, Sheep Detectives. I've heard nothing but great things over the last few weeks, whatever. Okay, you know what? Let me go and watch it. Well, there's only one theater in the whole DFW that was showing it, and it was like 30, almost 40 minutes away from me. Now, y'all know your boy don't mind driving around. I drive a distance every day for work, and my kids have me all over the place driving. Like my daughters had something on the other side of McKinney or it's the other side of the Metroplex this past weekend or whatever. That was like literally an hour away, 45 minutes to an hour away, and I had to go out there both Saturday and Sunday. So yeah, I don't mind driving, but I was looking, I was like, okay, and it's only the one theater, very limited show times or whatever. And I'm like, okay, maybe I'll go and knock this out, Sunday or Monday, Tuesday, whatever. And so something was like, you know what? It's been out long enough. Let me just Google and see when it might be coming to streaming. Lo and behold, it's already on Amazon Prime. And so I was like, oh, I clicked the button on Google or whatever. It took me straight, launched my Amazon Prime app, and I was like, you know what? This would be my Sunday night movie, whatever. So yes, I chilled out, watched the whole movie or whatever, and it was a great surprise. Like I said, like when I watched the trailer or whatever, I was like, there might be something here, whatever. And I should have listened to my gut and just went and just watched it, just gave it a full on shot in theaters, whatever. But yeah, but overall though, I'm glad I did finally get a chance to watch the movie or whatever. So for people who don't know what the Sheep Detective is, so in this movie, Hugh Jackman is a shepherd named George. And so he has this whole big flock of sheep or whatever that he tends to and care for every single day. So basically, something happens to George, he dies, and so the sheep are the ones kind of like investigating, trying to fill in the pieces of what happened to him and all this stuff, whatever. Now, of course, the sheep, whatever, they have voices, they're talking and stuff throughout the movie. And so that like having that as kind of like the core aspect of the movie was a nice touch to it. Just because you get to see these sheep being sheep, acting, thinking like sheep or whatever, but them kind of helping out these different people in town, find clues and piece together different things, whatever. And all in all, like I said, it was just like a really good, heartwarming movie. That was a real joy to watch. And honestly, I feel like if I probably would have watched that in theaters around lunchtime or whatever, it probably would have got some thug tears at your boy. But I think because I'm watching it at home on my phone, lots of distractions around. I'm pausing every so often to go do this and that or whatever, run an errand and stuff, whatever. So I didn't get that full undivided attention that I get and that I enjoy doing in movie theaters and stuff, whatever. So, but I still appreciated just like the messaging and stuff in the movie because there was kind of like some points in the movie that basically are just like, don't let your perception or sometimes what other people tell you about another person or another thing or whatever. Sometimes you need to get to know a person or get to or figure out a situation for yourself and draw your own conclusion of how you feel about a person or thing of your own accord. Because that was kind of like a big thing with like the whole like winter sheep plot line and stuff, whatever. So, but yeah, all in all though, I enjoyed Sheep Detectives as an overall movie and stuff, whatever. So I highly recommend y'all checking that one out if you get a chance to. All right, let's see other movie. Okay, Masters of the Universe, the He-Man movie. So this is one that I had a free evening or whatever, and I was like, you know what? I've heard this was one for sure that I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna watch no He-Man movie or whatever. Cause yeah, I watched it as a kid here. If it was on, okay, I'll watch it or whatever, but it wasn't like I was running to the TV or clamoring, oh, I gotta be home by a certain time to watch He-Man. Nah, nah. But I heard a lot of positive response from it or whatever. So I was like, you know what? Screw it, why not? And all in all, it was a fun time. It was the type of movie that embraced what it was. And what I mean by that is that, yeah, there is some obvious goofy stuff with He Man and the series, or whatever, from like He Man's outfit to Skeletor being an evil goofball or whatever. Like they actually leaned into the absurdity of a lot of the stuff, whatever, because like the basic plot of it or whatever is like, uh, He Man as a kid or whatever, you know, pretty weak and, not a good combatant, yada, yada, yada. Skeletor invades his land. His parents send him away with the sword to Earth or whatever and hiding. Uh, while he's traversing through the little space tunnel thing, whatever, he loses the sword. Him and the sword get separated on Earth or whatever. So for the last 15 years, he's been on Earth, living, trying to find the sword, blah blah blah. And yeah, basically, as you expect, he eventually finds the sword. Childhood friend comes, saves him from a bad guy. They go back to their world, liberate, yada yada yada. So all in all, like I said, fun movie. Not one like I said that I'll oh yeah yeah go run out to theaters and watch whatever. But it's one that's like hey, maybe if you can either catch it at a cheap showing or whatever, or when it comes to streaming or whatever, and you want just like hey some dumb fun, Master of the Universe, the He-Man movie, it was a dumb fun time. All right, let's see. Next up on my list, oh, probably my favorite thing that I watched that month, The Furious. Now, The Furious is an action movie, one that is kind of like John Wick esque, but just more just straight hands, just like a more Asian kung fu style movie, whatever. So long story short, the setup and premise or whatever is this guy who is a mute, so he can't talk or whatever. He lives with his young daughter or whatever, trying to make ends meet. Has like an unknown shady past or whatever, but basically his daughter gets kidnapped, and it's just a movie about a dad trying to get his daughter back. And from out the gate, hard, bone crunching, visceral combat or whatever. The fight choreography is top notch, some of the best I've ever seen. I feel like I've ever seen. And yeah, man, that was a top tier action movie and stuff. And like from beginning to end, it did not let up. It did not disappoint. So it is one that I highly recommend to people. Shout out to my boy Gooch. I recommended it to him. He went and saw it and enjoyed it. Shout out to my boy Steve from Inside the Mind of a Blurred. Cause we was texting the other around the time that the movie came out or whatever, and I told him, I was like, dude, you need to watch this movie, whatever. And so he sent me a clip from his podcast, whatever, or they tagged me in a clip, shouting me out where Steve, this dude was out of town traveling for work, whatever, and around the time we was texting about the movie, whatever, he looked up and there he literally wherever he was staying at, there's literally a movie theater within less than 10 minutes walking distance that had a showing that was going to start in like 15 minutes. My boy booked it down the street, got a ticket, watched the movie, and freaking loved it. So hey, that's mad love to my boy Steve and respect for having that much faith in my opinion of a movie to where within minutes of me suggesting that you check it out, that you literally ran out the door and across the street to the theater and went and watched it. So shout out to my boy Steve. But but yeah, man, that movie like it's one that has stuck with me, and I feel like will stick with me, will stick with you if you check it out. Now I'll say shout out to a dude I work with, uh, you know, fellow dad, fellow black dad, former military dude. He actively does like jujitsu and different stuff, different mixed martial arts stuff like that or whatever. And so he came into the office around the time that the movie came out or whatever. And so he was kind of in and out pretty quick. And so I caught him in the hall. I was like, hey, just real quick, whatever. I was like, say, have you watched The Furious? That dude lit up. He was like, dude, bro, you immediately dapped me up like, bro, you already know. I was on top of hey, me and my son went and watched the opening night, and yeah, we was just in the hallway gushing about this movie. So shout out to my boy from work. But yeah, man, yeah, everybody that is like, hey, if you give this movie a chance, and like I said, if you enjoy that type of hard hitting action, you will not be disappointed. So yeah, go and check out The Furious. Cause real talk, I'm debating. I'm like, man, I might have to see if I can squeeze in another showing of this movie at some point before these theaters, but I don't know. We'll see. But yeah. So the Furious. Um, and I think that's it for movies that I've checked out so far. Um, I will just say this month. So coming up in July, my two main priorities this month, and actually, let me look at the calendar. Movies, July movies, just to make sure nothing's slipped past me. But for sure, my top two priorities this month is the Odyssey, the new Christopher Nolan movie, coming out middle of the month, and then at the tail end of the month, freaking Spider Man Brand New Day, man. Whew, sorry, I had to sneeze. But yeah, the Odyssey and Spider Man or the two movies that are kind of like high on my high on my radar to check out and watch this month. Both of those I'll be locked in at the Dolby Theater just like I was for Supergirl, but gotta watch that on nice big screen, nice big bucket of popcorn, mixed slushy. But I'm looking at the list for July. Aside from that, now I'm looking at this Minions and Monsters new Minions movie. Now I think I've mentioned before, but so my baby, my anime son Vash, he's 8, about to be 9 later this year, whatever. We still haven't done a real movie going experience with him yet. And so, I was debating about maybe doing it with the Mario movie earlier this year. That just didn't happen timing wise, whatever. There was a SpongeBob movie at some point, but it kind of came and went. And so I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, maybe this one. I don't know. I'm still searching for a good movie to try taking him to, whatever. So I don't know. Maybe this Minions one. I don't know. We'll see. But aside from that, looking at the rest of the month, let's see. Uh, yeah, Odyssey. Yeah, it really ain't nothing that's like immediately sticking out. Like Motor City with the Alan Richardson, which I've enjoyed his work. A couple months ago when I went through and watched all of the current seasons of Reacher, but that's one of those like, hey, if I have a free day at some point this week or later this month or into early August because it comes out July 24th, whatever. Yeah, this would be one I'll probably go to like a random middle of the night showing, but not a priority. Yeah, yeah. July looking a little bare for me at least. I felt like I thought it was something else in here, but maybe I am misremembering. Yeah, so July kind of light for me or whatever. So, but anyway, so that's that for movies. TV show wise, so House of Dragons came back couple weeks ago, whatever. So we just got episode 2 this past Sunday, whatever. So I'm trying to get back in the swing of watching that on Sunday nights or whatever because the first episode I was there, that night, but the this past Sunday, granted I was watching The Sheep Detective, so that kind of threw me off. But when I fished with that, it was like 11 something or whatever, and I was like, wait, it's Sunday. Oh snap, House of Dragons is on. So watching that. Uh, X-Men 97 actually comes out tonight when I'm recording, whatever. So, new season of X-Men, like that previous season that came out a couple years ago, whatever. Amazing. Like me and my wife, like it's rare when me and my wife both get to sit down and enjoy something together, whatever. And so that was one of those shows to where like every week we were locked in, we were watching the new episodes as they were coming out every week like clockwork. So 97 season 2 coming out today, whatever. So that's gonna be a Wednesday release. Yeah, we will be in there. And then one of my favorite gems is coming back this Friday. Silo season 3. Man, I've talked about Silo plenty of times before, whatever. But yeah, season 3 is coming up, so I am beyond excited to check that out and stuff. So, but yeah, so that's it for the movies and shows. So like I said, a lot of stuff I've gotten to watch and stuff, whatever. But yeah, busy month of watching stuff. Oh, last little thing that there was one thing I watched. Funny enough, I think it came out around Father's Day, whatever. It's a Netflix series called "I Will Find You." This one was so good. So it followed a guy who, long story short, he got accused of murdering his son. So the kind of setup for that situation is that it was, his wife was away at work. She was allegedly away at work. Um, and or no, she got called in for an emergency work because she works at a hospital. She's a doctor. Got called in for an emergency late at night or whatever. So it's just the dad and the young son, which I think he was 5, about 5, no 3. Yeah, he was about 3. Now the dad has a history of night terrors or whatever, and so that was the excuse and setup of things of, you know, them finding the son dead, allegedly dead or whatever, and it was only the dad there. They found the murder weapon buried in the backyard, yada yada yada. So over the course of this movie, there or this TV series, or whatever, there is a big break where the sister-in-law, through some a mutual friend or whatever, gets a picture of the friend and her family at a amusement park, or whatever, and in the background, there's this little kid that seems like he would be the allegedly dead son, of course, older because it's been about 5 years or whatever, in the background. And how they recognize him is because he has a very distinguishing birthmark on his cheek or whatever, on his face or whatever. And so thus began the unraveling the threads of what really happened, who really did this and that or whatever. And I would say overall, it was solid. Got a little bit once we got closer to finding out who it was, why it happened, and all that stuff, whatever. But the mystery and journey along the way, really good, really solid. I think I watched that during there, maybe not one sitting, but for sure probably across like one day or at least like one weekend or whatever. But yeah, so yeah, I will find you was what's the name of that one. So let me double check and make sure it wasn't any other shows I watched that I might be missing. Okay, yeah, that was it for that stuff. All right, so last little thing I want to just shout out and touch on is some anime new stuff I want to touch on, because as I've talked about before in the past, your boy sometimes just keeps on winning. So before I get into the big W's, I just wanted to shout out. So the summer anime, or the spring anime season pretty much is done. I felt so behind on watching stuff. Whatever. The only show I really finished up so far was Wistoria season 2. Really good season. Really crazy like fight in those last few episodes, whatever. But yeah, shout out to Wistoria season 2. So, a couple of series that your boy has been a champion of for many years and talked about. So, last week, we got official confirmation that Full Night anime is coming. Allegedly, it's coming out fall season, so probably in October, whatever. Perfect time. But man, we got a trailer for it. It's a collaboration project between Sunrise Studio and Studio Shaft. It looked amazing. The music, everything was on point. So over the course of like the last like couple of weeks, in the lead up to this anime reveal or whatever, I've been back on reading Full Night. Now I haven't read it in several days at this point, or whatever, but in anticipation of the anime and stuff, whatever, I was like, you know what, it's time. I waited years for the missing chapters to be backfilled on Viz with the volume releases and stuff, but it took literally about 2 years for them to catch up and do it or whatever. Um, and so I was like, you know what? I only read back in the day up to about like chapter 26, 28, probably like for sure under 30. And so I was like, you know what? Now there's 117 chapters. It's time. So I've been reading it or whatever and recording my thoughts. I've been doing about 25 ish chapters at a time. So I've already recorded up through chapter 50 something. So basically through like volume 6. Those will be released hopefully every Friday this month. Uh, until maybe close to catch up. I don't know if I'm gonna do a full catch up, whatever, but I'm gonna do pretty deep, whatever. So like I said, I've already got 2 recorded in the can. So I'll have another one I'm gonna try to knock out soon. But yeah, so Full Night anime is coming. Go watch that trailer; it looks amazing. And then the other W I got this morning, the Bugle Call, Song of War. We got a trailer for this one. It's coming out next year, 2027. And man, I'm still just in my mind hearing the first sounds of his bugle or whatever in that trailer, because it was like the rainy scene. He's on the battlefield and just you hear the sounds of the rain, and then you hear the boom, 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 and it's just like, oh my god, But yeah, looks amazing, sounds amazing, and I'm like, yeah, yeah, your boy keeps winning. So yes, I'm looking at my show. I'm like, man, what other victories am I gonna get? Because after all these years, we freaking finally got Witch Hat Atelier, and some other stuff that's on my shelf, whatever. I still want my hidden gem of Karate Survivor to get an anime at some point, but no, but seriously, but yeah, getting full Night and Bugle Call back to back announcements within the last like week. Yeah, your boy's happy. Oh, Aoashi season 2, they confirmed, so we already knew it was coming out this fall. Ooh, which it just I'm gonna get Full Night and Aoashi in the same season. But Aoashi, they confirmed it's gonna be another 24 episode season. So very, very exciting. I'm happy to hear that news. You know how much I love season 1. And the other day I went to Barnes and Nobles for the first time in a long time, just kind of looking around, and I found they had a copy of the new omnibuses that they're doing. So they're doing a 3-in-1 release for Aoashi or whatever, and just kind of flipping through it or whatever, and like getting back to the scene with the letter from his mom, reading it on the bus and stuff like that. Even before then, like the scene with his mom saying, I feel like soccer is taking you away from me or whatever, and then the heartfelt letter of her supporting him, whatever, and then the shoes that the mom and the older brother put their money together for, whatever. It's just, yeah, man. I'm definitely gonna have to rewatch season 1 again in preparation of season 2. But man, I am super happy to hear, like I said, that it's gonna be another long 24 episode season. So, but but yeah, man. So I think I'm gonna kind of wrap it up there. Yeah, it's getting late. Get this uploaded and work on it tomorrow in the morning at work. But yeah, man, it's been a very busy month. Um, as I said a while ago, just with life and family. Like I said, now we're preparing for these 2 back-to-back trips over the coming weeks and stuff. Whatever. So there's a lot of stuff that still got to be done in regards to that and stuff. So, but along the way, and now this long car drive, I'm gonna be excited to have this companion with me, Dungeon Crawler Carl. So since the last time I talked about it, I am now I am now on which book? I think this is book. Oh, come on. I am now on book 5. Book 5, chapter 50. I still got 8 hours and some change left on this audiobook for it or whatever, but man, this continues to just be so freaking fun. It continues to have derailed a lot of my other podcasts that I usually listen to, whatever. Like it's derailed all my normal routines and stuff, whatever, just because, like I said, like a lot of the chapters are perfect. A lot of the chapters are like 20 to like 30, 40 minutes a piece, whatever, which a lot of times is just enough time for, like, if it's like a 30-minute chapter or whatever, then hey, that might be enough time for, okay, I'm just dropping my kids off at practice or whatever and circling back to the house, or my commute to and from work. I'm knocking out a couple of chapters on my commute and stuff, whatever. So yeah, so Dungeon Crawler Carl continues to be awesome, and I'm looking forward to going ahead and having the next book locked and loaded on my phone and stuff, just so hey, that's what I'm gonna be listening to on my car ride and stuff. So but yeah, so that's gonna do it for this episode. I'm not sure, because looking at the calendar, like I said, I got a busy next couple of weeks coming up. Uh, I'm debating about whether or not to do a summer anime preview thing next week, because the season's already started or whatever. But I still like to do it just for the fun of it or whatever, and also kind of give like some first impressions of some stuff that's already been out. But if I don't do it next week, it'll be maybe for the week after. Um, and yeah, I don't know. I've got some other little things that I've always wanted to kind of do, just to have like some like evergreen discussions and stuff, whatever. But I don't know. We'll see. Um, otherwise, I'm still, like I said, I'll still be doing some like mini shorter discussions or thoughts and stuff, whatever, across my social media platforms and stuff, whatever. And like I said, if 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 you don't see an episode or whatever posted uh, by middle of next week, whatever, then more than likely, there's probably not going to be one. Like I said, I'll just skip and just do it the week after and stuff. So, but anyway, rambling on, well over an hour. But as always, thank you so much for watching and or listening. You can find me everywhere at Danny's Talk, and let me know what you think of any of the stuff I talked about. What are some of your favorite movies that you watched in June, or some of your favorite shows that you got to catch up on? Let me know what you thought of any of the freaking chaos going on with the gaming industry and stuff. Because yeah, it is a lot happening right now, and yeah. So, like I said, catch you on the next one. And as I always say, treat yourself to something nice. Read some manga, watch some anime TV shows and movies, play some video games, and of course, live your best life. And with that, I am out. Y'all have an awesome rest of your day and or week, and I will catch you on the next one. Y'all be easy. Peace.